Okay. So, let's go ahead and start with this. This is Antagony.
Antagony. I like the pun there.
Yeah. So, Antagony, she is, if I'm remembering correctly, she is, first off a she, but she's also a Predacon.
Alright.
But she actually, something kind of interesting with how they have her be at the moment is she actually, in whatever appearances she made outside of her original toy, she actually was drawn with a distinct head. A very distinct head that isn't either of the ones coming with her. Unfortunately, I don't have here a picture of the other one, but the other one is based off of Scavenger, if I'm remembering correctly, the Transmetal Scavenger. Yeah.
I like this though, because apart from it looking like Inferno, which basically looks like a different species of ant. Like Inferno could be like a fire ant. This Antagony could be like a black ant.
Yeah. Ant mode. Next up, the Bludgeon.
Bludgeon? Yeah, Junkion?
No, he's not a Junkion. He actually was one of the Pretenders.
Oh.
They are specifically drawing from the IDW comics for this figure, though. Where, admittedly, in those comics, he basically was just Tarn with a couple very small changes outside of color. Yeah. I do wonder if we'll get a more toy accurate Bludgeon at some point.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
Yeah. You should know who this is.
Shell.
Yep. I will say he does look a little goofy with his with his giant hat.
I mean, wasn't his hat always so goofy in the show, though?
Sort of. It actually, I think, lifted off of his head more and was a bit smaller in the show because it could actually shift size.
Oh, yeah. You're right.
Yeah. Yeah, considering though it is a physical toy and has to do physical toy things, it makes sense.
I mean, it's not a toy that can, like, shrink, like, a piece of its body.
Yeah. They made a little set of core class Bumblebee in more accurate colors, with a more accurate colored Optimus with his Energon axe and a trailer with roller.
Yeah, but wasn't his Energon axe more orange than that?
Yeah, it's a little yellow in these pictures. I think it is a bit more orange, it just might have a lot of light hitting it right now.
Yeah.
Because I think it might be a metallic orange that they painted it.
Oh.
Detrius. So, Detrius here is actually a Junkion. He's actually a character that existed before, and following suit with how Rekgar and Junkheap don't... if I'm remembering correctly, his name is Junkheap. I'll have to double check quickly. But Detrius was actually originally just a recoloring of the Hound figure.
Yeah, I can tell.
Yeah. And so the fun thing with him, he's actually more or less an arms dealer mercenary like guy. Yeah, it was Junkeep that was made from Rekgar. Anyway, so they actually ended. So he also has a Decepticon symbol for vehicle mode.
Assuming that's good for maybe he's like a double agent, you know.
He has an
like
Autobot
supplying both ends.
And the Decepticon symbol there. Yeah, so Detrius quite literally left Junkion behind to become a mercenary, selling his services to either side of the conflict. He also often will apparently just sit around until he's certain which side is likely to win, and then offer to join that side in a battle.
Seems reasonable.
Yeah. But yeah. So another Junkion to add to the Junkions for collection for me, though. He's also one of those characters where, hey, he is not just an Autobot.
Yeah, he's also a Decepticon.
Yeah. He's admittedly one of those in-between guys. The few in-between characters. Dreadwing, who I dread to see. I will say I do like the coloring a little better. I still don't like it as the character.
Yeah.
Especially with how much... This is just literally a cockpit glued onto a Cybertronian ship. It does not look like a good human jet at all.
Yeah, and it still has like the tiny wings too.
Junkosaurus.
Oh yeah, I remember you showing me this.
Yeah. So, they at least implied that this had been planned from the beginning. So, that makes me like Axel Grease even less, because presumably all the rest of these guys are Autobots. I know for certain that these two and this guy are. And I presume the other arm will be. So why make the other leg a Decepticon and one that sticks out with so much color?
Yeah, and at what point would that work? Like, would it be like a team up thing where both sides have to fight like a common enemy?
I would assume so. I did end up looking back at the post about Axel Grease. Apparently there is a design for an Autobot version of that vehicle mode. I hope they make that so that I don't have to jury rig some kind of peg leg for Junkosaurus. Because that would be my plan. If I can't if they don't make a character for me to fit into the other leg, I'm thinking of just jury rigging some way to find a peg leg for it.
I mean, honestly, a peg leg would be way better than like inserting Axel Grease in there.
Yeah. Yeah, so I get the feeling like they ended up having an idea, and without necessarily thinking through that it throws it off so much with axle grease for the combined mode. They were like, hey, let's try something new. I think that might have been what happened. Which is a little unfortunate.
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully they'll eventually do an Autobot version of the vehicle mode, and then we can have proper Junkosaurus. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's Mirage! He actually looks better than the CGI renders that we had for the longest time of the Studio Series figure. Because he looked he looked a lot chubbier in those, probably because you couldn't as well see that this is clear.
Yeah.
Also, for something uncommon for non-Studio Series things. Whoa, look, a licensed car.
Sorry, can you say that again? You got caught up there.
Unusual for things that are not Studio Series. A licensed car?
What makes you think it's licensed?
No, it actually is licensed.
Oh.
They actually took the time and effort to make sure that this specific vehicle mode was licensed. Most Studio Series figures are anyway, from what I understand. But it's a note, if I'm correct, that it's a note, if I'm correct, that it is the first Transformers toy to have a fully licensed Porsche alt mode.
Mm.
There. Primal!
Oh.
Now, I do know that they mentioned they will make him a bit darker to better fit the film. They also said something, I think, about a little more blue on Mirage's face. But apparently he was gonna have chains to connect these.
Kinda makes sense.
Yeah. They also included an axe for Optimus.
Actually, no, it wouldn't make sense. I think it was like, why not? Chains.
Yeah, they also included an axe for the Rise of the Beasts Optimus for some reason.
If 2 melee weapons are not enough, have a third one.
Yeah. Something I saw noted, they took the time to even put in his scar in his face.
I didn't even notice he had a scar.
Hey look, it's Santa Prime, but with normal Prime colors. I've seen people say that this looks better. I think it looks worse.
I agree.
I mean, this doesn't look as bad.
Yeah, but
But
like
robot mode looks like, hey, can I copy your homework?
Yeah.
Sure, just don't make it too noticeable.
Yeah, copy every little detail, but don't every detail.
Dead Prowl and Ironhide.
Honestly, if you do end up buying either of those, you could just make them into zombies.
You technically could. You very well technically could. The only issue is And actually, Transformers Prime lets them keep their colors, but most Generation 1 based stuff seems to make them either be some sort of greenish gray or just gray if they're dead.
True.
Yeah. Funny story about this though. Apparently this got made because one of the designers made a joke and a different one ran with it because he actually had so much enthusiasm for the idea. And that is how we got this.
Like, hey, yeah, you know what would be a great idea? Let's make some dead characters that
Shadow Striker here.
I don't even know what I'm looking at. I mean, I know what I'm looking at, but...
Yeah, so... It is a mix of a old... So she is a mixture of a character from the Cyberverse show, as well as the original version of her, which was a repaint of a character called Sideburn from the old 2001 Robots in Disguise cartoon. Honestly, it feels a lot like the robot mode is just the old figure, minus the head.
Yeah, I kind of like how they used like the roof of the car as like a shield, like almost like a riot shield. The rest of the figure feels off to me.
The rest of the figure feels extremely lanky.
Yeah.
What also doesn't help is that part of the reason Shadow Striker is memorable in Cyberverse, and even for me as someone who hasn't watched that show, is because literally all of her limbs are mishmashed from the rest of her torso and head being completely different colors. Now, admittedly, that is a little harder to fit into a budget for a single mass-released toy. But that doesn't help to not do that. Now, mind you, the vehicle mode looks decently enough like her.
I mean, I don't know. What?
I mean, it's basically Cyberverse just had... Yeah, my dog is causing trouble. Basically, Cyberverse has a bunch of them have basically just super futuristic cars. So... it ends up looking decent enough for that. We had another casualty of trying to merge Generation 1, roughly Generation 1 with stuff, even though Cyberverse itself was based on the evergreen Generation 1 designs, meaning, okay, we're designing a new series, this is roughly what we want Bumblebee to look like. So that it's roughly, everyone roughly can be recognized at a glance. Mind you, Bumblebee's vehicle mode is based more on the muscle car of the Bay films, but his robot mode is based a bit more on Generation 1. Outside of that. Which does make it odd that this ended up having to still get merged with old Generation 1 toy.
Yeah.
This guy, we have Snarl, the last core class Dinobot.
Hey.
Oh yeah, this is the thing that I saw be literally announced today. that I said you might be able to help tell me a bit more about. So we have Soundwave as I forget what what the vehicle is. Some G.I. Joe thing. Which I will note, I find it interesting that they actually apparently took the Masterpiece version of Ravage, so I might have to track all of those Masterpiece cassettes down now. This thing, have any clue what this is, or who the two G.I. Joe guys are?
Well, I don't recognize this vehicle from the show, or from any, to be honest. The two guys from the previous picture. Sure, the guy on the right is basically a master of disguise. Look like anyone at any given moment. But it's not like the same way how IOC does it. It's more like he has like a rubber mask.
More like so I recently watched the first Mission Impossible, so more like how Mission Impossible does it.
Yeah.
Just with cartoon aesthetic of you can literally just do anyone.
Yeah. And the guy on the left, the chick, she's basically a part of like a gang that works with Cobra.
Yeah, let's see. Okay, so I found the name. It's something called a Dreadnought Thunder Machine.
Never heard of it.
Yeah. Now I'm gonna be curious. How much would trying to track down the Masterpiece cassettes be? Let's quickly see if I can find roughly how much any of these would be. I'm pretty sure this says that it's 100 total though, so that shouldn't be terrible. I think there's actually less than that's either close to or less than the Megatron was.
Yeah. Here.
Scrolling, lots of scrolling. And I've hit nothing there. Fine. Google Masterpiece wing thing. Because it's the only one I can think of that I can suspect wouldn't be directly in the thing. Let's see. It wouldn't be directly packed with Soundwave. And that's not showing up much. Oh boy. Fine, let's just try Ravage himself. Masterpiece Ravage. Oh. I don't think that's right. That looks... hang on, I need to look. Something feels off. I can't tell if these are just people listing boxes and boxes only or no. Looks like actually it might not just be boxes only. It might actually have everything in it, and you can grab them for like $30 a piece or something like that. That's actually not gonna be terrible then.
No.
I guess I'll need to come up with a name for this Ravage though, because that's clearly not Ravage colorization.
No.
I'm trying to remember what the blue one is called, because there is a blue variation of Ravage.
Yeah.
But I think that one doesn't have red on it either. Before I continue getting sidetracked with that, Strong Arm. So, Strong Arm is from the 2015 Robots in Disguise show, which isn't considered very good.
Really? A lot of people like that.
Yeah, from what I understand, not a ton of people liked the 2015 Robots in Disguise show. The blue Ravage is called Howlback.
Oh.
But what I find interesting is outside of being a reuse of Alita 1's main mold, so the truck being extra squashed and her being a bit thinner, they actually made her look more like herself than they did Shadow Striker. So it continues to be inconsistent. I don't get it.
Neither do I.
Because both that show and Cyberverse were based on, were for the most part based on Evergreen designs, if I'm correct, and all of the Evergreen designs outside of like Barricade are based on Generation 1 for the most part. So why is one show that's pretty much Generation 1 based seemingly roughly correct and the other goes heavily in a different direction? This man. This man. This is Trash Master.
I like it.
Yeah, I've seen someone actually note he kind of looks like a post-apocalyptic bulkhead.
I was gonna say he looks more like Bone Crusher from the Bayverse, the first
Kind of
one.
does as well.
You know, especially with like his giant hand claw thingy.
Yeah. Yeah. So he turns into obviously a garbage truck. He's actually the guy that basically seems to form the main torso of the Junkosaurus.
Okay, yeah. Does he also form the head, or is that a separate figure?
I think he also forms the head.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm going to assume at the moment that it's a 5-part combiner, like how most of them are.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Trash Master. The Troop Builder multi-pack. You have a Decepticon Seeker. You have a Quintesson Trooper. Generation 2. Cybertronian. And an Auto Trooper.
Kind of like his gun.
Yeah, the Auto Trooper is actually from Animated, which again, you have this one that ends up looking decent.
Yeah.
You have this one that ends up looking decently like the character, and then you have not looking a ton like the character, or is it not looking a super ton like the character? It's
Yeah, no, what is up with that?
No clue. Oh, and I guess that's the last thing I have in here.
Well, that is it. Okay.
Yeah. So let's see. So I want to stay away from my obvious answers of what I don't like and what I do like. The obvious answers of do like is clearly the Seeker. I collect as many Seekers as I can, and I collect most Junkions. Axeloose being an exception. And with that note, I am going to say I'm not going. As much as I am excited for Junkosaurus, I'm going to hold off on it because of axle grease.
Probably a better decision, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to collect everyone else but axle grease to be able to actually get it, but I'm not going to select it as favorite for this because of that. So I'm currently, and again, we're going to not just use the obvious ones. So I'm going to say either Soundwave, because I like Soundwave a decent bit, and because it would be hilarious if now I have to gather the Masterpiece cassettes, or actually the Auto Trooper for the ones that I like a lot.
Yeah, I like the Auto Trooper too.
Yeah. Yeah. As for which one I don't like a lot, this would be just too easy. That would literally be too easy. I already selected that mold before.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say, how about, I'm gonna say Shadow Striker.
Same.
Yeah. Yeah, admittedly, there are some neat things that they had revealed, like, you know, Antagony, Bombshell, 2 Junkions, Junkosaurus, some Studio Series guys, but, well, Soundwave, but there are a number that are just kind of okay.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, they didn't actually give us any clue as to what's next this time.
Yeah,
If you if you didn't notice, there were no just pictures of any guys that weren't actual promo toy shots. Other than, you know, technically being Junkosaurus, but even then, it is still an official picture of the thing itself. Yeah. Yeah, I do hope we get proper Prime Skyquake and Dreadwing at some point. Specifically because they are actually, I never got the Prime Skyquake, but the Prime Dreadwing, you know, the old small Commander class figures?
Yeah.
That was one of my first Jet Transformers.
Oh.
And so you can see why I'm like, I hold some value over him being not just him being part of the Seekers, so I would like to collect him and his brother, but also him actually being a jet and not kind of just cockpit glued space jet. There's admittedly a little bit of bias there.
Definitely.
Yeah. I will be interested to know if this here is just, as it seems to be there, a direct recolor of Crash Bar or not. Because I'm pretty sure Crash Bar is admittedly more orange and gray and dark gray plastic than the tan shown there. But it also seems like it might just be like a prototype copy of Crash Bar that is being used to fill in for now. And we might get something like Axle Grease where it's slightly changed from the other one. That is from Crash Bar in the slightly modified motorcycle instead of the exact same motorcycle. Yeah. Anything else to comment on for these?
Not really.
Not really?
Basically covered about everything.
Yeah. I am still surprised. It doesn't seem like these are actually that terrible.
No, it really isn't.
Yeah, it really isn't, considering apparently they're like 30 for 2 packs of them. And it's like $8 for the Battle Master dudes. So it's like $15 for the Masterpiece dudes. Considering that, that's literally not terrible. It's like you're paying just double a Battle Master for each one. Which makes sense for being a Masterpiece figure. It would be more expensive, but for still being rather small. Yeah. I guess we're gonna call it there. Oh no.
What happened?
Let's see. Okay, no, it was working. It just ended up, for some reason, cutting out briefly.